Brent, this whole thing played out over 7 hours. You can actually still see officers behind me here. We're still investigating this scene where this all took place. And they're still investigating the shooter's death tonight, although law enforcement tell me that when they sent in a robot, the suspect was already lying face down on the floor. Shots fired from an apartment above the hair salon on Main Street in Branford. The numerous shots had officers pinned down.
I was thinking it was an accident or something, and my window was down, and I heard about 5 or 8 shots go off.
Dave Dreisens was driving to Branford Cleaners at noon Tuesday when officers flew past him to block off the street. After he heard the initial flurry of shots, he says the shooter unloaded for a second time.
I heard another volley of about 10 or 14 shots go off right after that.
The South Central SWAT team, Connecticut State Police, and multiple nearby departments supplied mutual aid to secure the scene. Residents were told to shelter in place.
Everybody is either out of there or they tell me that they're sheltering in place in the basements. Anybody around there.
Police say one civilian was caught in the line of fire and had to be transferred to Yale New Haven Hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. For about an hour, authorities could be heard trying to make contact with the suspect, who they called Matt. Police also asked Matt to call them or come to the window.
Matt, we just want to talk to you, Matt.
It's unknown if police ever did make contact with Matt before they sent a robot into the apartment. They say drone images captured showed the suspect lying motionless on the ground.
Oh, it's pretty surreal. Yeah, I mean, you know, small town Branford, you don't expect it.
The police have not confirmed the identity of the suspect or if anybody else was inside the apartment at the time. They also have not released any motive. Now, Connecticut State Police Major Crimes are still investigating the scene, but for more information,